All right, raise your hands. How many of you are successful Odoo partners? Now keep, oh, wow, okay. Now keep your hands up if you're sending a LinkedIn message and you've gotten crickets. Okay, we got some. Great. So I'm talking to the right room. We live in a world where 80% of your ideal prospects will never see you, just because you use traditional methods. Think of it like a pie. 20%, you're doing great with them. Those are the people that will find you through your website, through word of mouth, through referrals. Doing great, they're happy, best referrals for the future years as well. Now, this means that 80% is still out there looking for a solution that Odoo will probably really, really be good at, and you too, but they don't see you because they never heard of you, or they're overwhelmed by choices, or they just think this is how business works, and they never really thought about how they could change it. So this could be a problem, I think, as an opportunity, because I like to take it as opportunities. I'm a sales girl, so that's why. It's an opportunity because it means that there is a lot of people out there that you can reach out to, and we need to just find the way and the best way to do it. So how do you make it happen? You change your approach. You change your approach because if you want to do better sales, you need to change a bit of the sales strategy. And by changing that sales strategy, you actually stop selling features and you start selling transformation. And this is my message for you today. If you have one thing to remember from this talk, it's this. Take a picture. So, there are, in my opinion, 3 steps to make it happen. Step 1, you don't search companies, you search stories. By searching stories, what I mean is, you try to find the actual pain points, you try to find the human being behind the company. How do you make that happen? Let me take an example. Let's take ideal Odoo prospects. You have a sales manager in a grocery store. Every month end, she disappears for 2 full days. Why? Because every single month, she needs to go through the whole inventory. She needs to weigh the products, she needs to count them, she needs to write everything in an Excel file, and then she'll probably have to recount them and re-weigh them because there is an issue somewhere. Does that ring a bell to anyone? Because it does to me. That was my previous job before I joined Odoo. So it's all a bit a story, and it's always nice to tell. But the point is, the moment you tune in into that story, your communication will change. You're not reaching out to that person saying, hey, you have Odoo, they have barcodes, inventory, it might be super helpful for you. You actually talk to someone that wants their life back. No one wants to be spending 2 days at the end of the month to reconcile everything in the system. And those stories, we have a bunch of them at Odoo. You do have probably as well. And from the partners I've been chatting with, usually it's always down to those stories. In my opinion, there are 3 types of stories. The first one would be growth story. So growth could be a company that's expanding super fast, and usually they don't really have systems that talk to each other. Or, you know, they have a subsidiary in Poland and they need to have an integration with another system. This would be the typical growth story. Second type of story are industries. This is how we work at Odoo. So we try to find the pain points of a very specific industry, and then we'll try to replicate that conversation with other companies that are operating in that industry. Usually, they have common processes that you can tap into and probably even create a verticalization afterwards. That's a story for another talk, probably another day. And then the third type of story would be the processes. You all work for a company. You all know that at some point you'll have a manual process and it will drive you crazy. I have it with my Excel sheets and I work for Odoo, so there we go. So let's say you have this story. You understand how to reach out and you know what would be your main reason to reach out. How do you make that happen? Step 2. Step 2 is you don't interrupt. No one wants to be interrupted in their day. You orchestrate, which means you don't pick just one channel. By channel, I mean communication channels, of course. So you orchestrate between LinkedIn, between calling, between emailing, and then I'll share you a secret sauce afterwards as well. What does happen? So you send an email. You shared your story, you find the pain points, you're talking to that person, it's going well, but you don't really get a reply. My strategy is usually I would go to LinkedIn, I would send an invite, and in that invite I usually say, hey, I just sent you an email, it's always better to put a smile or a face on a name, and if you know me, you know this is my favorite one, and if our team is in this room, sorry about that. And then the third option, the calling, this is actually where you build the relationship with that customer, with that future customer. Because the moment you are on the call with them, they already saw your name multiple times previously, either on email, LinkedIn, they saw your post, they see all of the content that you're brilliantly putting out there. So they already have a feeling that they know you for some reason. And this is where you build the relationship. Because I'm not sure you know of, but you have way better closing rates, about 10 times, if I'm not mistaken, by talking to someone on the phone rather than just emailing back and forth. Why? Because calling is the only thing you cannot AI right now. You have to be someone, you have to talk to that person on the phone. And this, of course, doesn't really happen overnight. So you need a system to make it work. I call it the specific toolkit. So the tools I use is usually Lucia, because this is 2025 and you're not hunting for emails anymore. You also use LinkedIn, of course, because you can use the content on LinkedIn, you can use SalesNav, you can create your network on LinkedIn as well. And then, of course, you use Odoo. Odoo is your CRM. So this is where you track all of the interactions you'll have with that person, because then you can track their reaction, what you discussed, how you discussed it as well, and then from there, you can actually go to the next step. So, you found the story, and it's a brilliant one. You orchestrated all of the touch points. Maybe you even got a reply. So let's take us back to the sales manager I was discussing before. Right now, really, really not ready. Why? Because she just expanded into a new business unit. She's going to supply, I don't know, restaurants with fresh groceries. Her head is completely somewhere else. Most salespeople, or founders, sometimes they do sales as well, they would stop here. They would say, okay, it's not the right time, I'm not going to push for it, so there is no reason for me to complete my sales cycle, I'll just go back to it later on. Probably never. What could distinguish yourself right now from all of the other salespeople out there is actually my third step. My third step is you don't chase volume, you create value. How do you create value with someone? By sharing something that's really useful to that person. So let's go back to my example. Right now, she's in the business unit, she's counting her inventory, she doesn't really have time to focus on anything else right now, but you know that in the future, there will be some, I don't know, new EU regulations on PEPL. And she might not even be aware of it. Well, right now, she's going to be aware of it, but let's take it as an example. Before she even knows the impact it's going to have on her business, what you can do is already send a report on, okay, this is how it's going to be impactful. This is what you can change right now. And every time you reach out, even if you don't really sell something right now, you can actually add new content and share some value with them. I do it with reports, I do it with industry trends, I have EU reports that are super interesting in terms of digital transformation. You find your value, and it needs to be in line with what the customer wants to do. So the moment you share that value with them is the moment they can actually try and already think about the future, which means that when that person will have a meeting with her CEO at the end of the year, she already has 3 valid points in her mind that she needs to discuss with her CEO, all from you. So next time, when she is going to implement a new solution and she knows she's going to have a trusted advisor to make it happen, who do you think she'll call? Is it going to be someone that she never heard of, or is it going to be the one that actually shared a lot of information with them? So this is how you bring it all together. You stop selling the features. You start selling the transformation for a business as well. And this is really easy to set up. It doesn't happen overnight, of course, but it's easy to set up. Let's take it all together. To stop selling features and start selling transformation, the first step is the stories. This you can find on LinkedIn. Everyone scrolls on LinkedIn, so you'll find a story, and you can make it happen. Once you get the story, you orchestrate. And in order to orchestrate, you use Lucia to get the data. You use Odoo as well to build all of that relationship with the CRM as well. Once you've got the stories, you orchestrated the outreach, this is where you're different from the other ones. You create the value. At Odoo, what we do to create the value is we have a vault. We use Odoo knowledge and we use Odoo documents to combine all of the information we have. That information could be on reports, as I mentioned before, but also all of the conversation we had with other partners or other customers, because those are the real pain points actually in their industry. And this is where it becomes way more valuable for them as well. Whenever you put this together, you start seeing results. I've seen it with my team as well. What kind of results can you see? Usually you get better qualified leads because you have a better understanding of the business that you're talking to. You also have usually a better forecast because you know exactly when they're going to be ready because you were the one carving that journey for them, and the moment they're ready, they'll come to you. And then the other result that I think is the most interesting one and the most important one as a business is usually the size of the deal that you're going to close with that business is way higher. Why? Because they trust you. They trust you before you even quote them. And they cannot find that value anywhere else, usually. So this is why the 3 steps comes all together, and this is how you can actually start selling the actual transformation. You're not selling software anymore. You're selling a transformation to a business. You're offering people to give them time back. So understand, we covered a lot of ground today. I must assume you have a couple of questions on how this could apply to your specific business, your specific market. I'm happy to tackle them with you today, and I'll let you scan the QR code. Okay.
Thank you for that talk. We have a few questions here, so we'll start with the first one. How complicated is it to talk to the right person, decision maker, for example, once you have found a good account?
I love this one. Is anyone from my team in this room or not? They're not here? Okay. Oh, you had someone there. So you build your own story. The way I do it is I usually would find someone on LinkedIn. I would start a conversation with them. Sometimes they're really not a good decision maker, but I try to earn their trust already because they're going to be my ambassador in the company afterwards. Meaning the moment we're ready to have another conversation, I can actually ask him for a referral. Like, okay, listen, if it's worth your time, maybe we can include some of your colleagues in there who would be most relevant here. And this is how you build your path into those companies as well. You try bit by bit.
Thank you. Next question here. It's actually twice the same question. So how many times do you insist and do follow-ups once you connected?
Depends if you want to be a stalker or not. We have 12 points, touch points, something like this, and it's not necessarily only calling. So we, as I mentioned, we have an orchestration, and it goes from LinkedIn to calling to messaging and to WhatsApp sometimes as well. So usually I would go for 12 touch points, and it rolls over a month and a half. But the moment I feel like it's too pushy, because you can feel it, trust me, usually I stop there and I know this is not the right time. But this doesn't mean I won't reach out again in the future, because then this is where you go to the third step, which is bringing the value. So maybe you haven't had a chat with anyone for the past 12 months, and then suddenly you have this new report coming in because you found it out by discussing with another prospect, and then you just reach out saying, hey, I had this conversation with that person. Actually, it made me think of the conversation we had a couple of times ago. Not sure if it's a priority right now for you, but I thought I'd share the report or those numbers. So you do your own life with it afterwards.
Thank you. So the next one is, would you advise to buy lead lists?
Oh, I don't do it. It depends what kind of industries you want to tap into. Let's say if you have a very specific verticalization of Odoo or another software, and then you want to reach out to very specific people in a specific industry, then I think it might be worth exploring the lead lists, but in my very honest opinion, and the number of leads that I'm managing on a monthly basis now, I think right now it's not necessary. Because Odoo is not that well known in the world, probably in certain countries, yes, but you can do the prospecting by yourself and you don't really need to buy a list. And then the bias of buying a list is that you don't really have the stories of those people. So what you're going to do, you're going to start cold calling, so you don't really know what to say, how to say it, and how to share that information. So I think if you buy the list, might be good for some specific industries, but it's a risk because you'll spend a lot of time trying to get their attention while you could put that energy in another topic.
Thank you. And here someone is asking if you have the good icebreaker for LinkedIn outreach. Do you have a favorite maybe?
Build your network before. The way I usually break the ice on LinkedIn is because I react to content that those people posted. So I come from a place of curiosity, and if you come from a place of curiosity, usually people are super keen on sharing their story as well. And this is where actually afterwards you can bring in the topic you wanted to discuss with them. So breaking the ice is about curiosity, in my opinion, if you react to someone.
Okay, thank you. So someone is saying here, we know that cold calling can be really useful when we want to bring value, thanks to Lucia. Mm-hmm. So do you think it would be better to externalize it or internalize it?
You mean the cold calling or the sales part?
I'm not the one who asked the question, so...
I think there is a lot of authenticity whenever you do the sales part yourself.
The cold calling, apparently.
The cold calling, same. The reason we do the whole sales cycle at Odoo, from the cold calling for some certain teams to the closing, is because you have way more authenticity. You know where you want to take people afterwards. If you outsource the cold calling, then you might end up in a position where you get the leads, but you don't really build that relationship from the very start. And actually, the cold calling part is where you already start building that curiosity, that trust, and your personality will have a lot of impact on this. So if you have someone cold calling, be like, hey, I want you to sell this software, I don't really know, blah, 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 and here is your lead. And then you have someone say, hey, I've noticed you've posted this on LinkedIn, and I was super curious about it, so can you tell me about it? Completely different. And even on a sales cycle, usually the first impression is the most important one, in my opinion. So you need to keep it on the long term, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you. How many contacts with a company would you consider enough before you decide to close the lead?
That was the previous question we had before, but I would say 12 touch points from any platforms. Usually we go for 12.
Okay, so we have, I think you have a job offering here. Someone is selling, how would you sell in a region where digital transformation has been slow, like Mauritius? What strategy would you use? And would you like to come to Mauritius to help us?
That's a long question. So what I offer you to do is to come see me at the booth or connect with me on LinkedIn or reach out to your partner manager, and we'll be happy to tackle that one because it takes a while to discuss.
Okay, we have a very large question here. So how to build an audience? Like an email list where I send Odoo-related articles, sharing knowledge. Is it a good way to create leads?
That's a funny question because it was actually my topic from last year at Odoo Experience. I did a talk on personal branding. And I've started this adventure 2 years ago. I started building my own network on LinkedIn with a very nice partner by my side as well, because we went into this adventure together. How do you build the audience? You basically share value. I think it's linked to my third point as well, but in order to attract people and attract them to come and talk to you, you have to first share everything you can. At Odoo, we have a lot of information. We have demos, we have content, we have documentation, and actually you can tune into that content, events, documentation, everything. You share it with them. You create that audience as well, and the people will come to you afterwards. It will be slow, I'm not saying, it takes a while, but the moment you have your audience, it's way easier afterwards to build that trust in the relationship.
Thank you. And we have one final question here. So, do you focus on selling single apps or the full ERP?
I focus on selling partnerships.
I like that.
No, I'm messing with you. I would focus, depending on your strategy. What I usually recommend my partners is to either start slow and build the portfolio based on this. So you could start with, I don't know, you have a passion for website and e-commerce. So what I would advise you is to start building those websites and that e-commerce and then add capacity afterwards. Because if you start as an Odoo partner, it's really difficult to understand the full end-to-end solution because you cannot get expertise on every single module. So if you have to start today, start slow and then build on top and then ask us for help because we can support you on that end.
And we're really efficient because we do not have any questions anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.